So I was in the studio with James Poyser and with Martin Luther. And they were talking about the Dave Chappelle block party, like this thing was about to happen. It was gonna be monumental. And Lauryn Hill was gonna be there, who was like my childhood idol. And I was just like obsessed with meeting her. Like, I gotta meet her. You know, I have to tell her like I love her and we should be best friends. And and so they were like, well, nah, you probably can't come. You know what I mean? It's, you know, whatever, you're not in the band or you're not on the list or whatever the case may be. So anyway, I talked Martin Luther into taking me as his background singer. So at the time, he was singing background for the Roots. So I was like, why don't you sneak me in as your background singer? And then I'll just, you know, move around from there and just kind of like find a little cut to be in until Lauryn get there. Then I'll jump out like, surprise, I'm your biggest fan, right? Creep shit. Anyway, so I get on the bus, I come to New York, I walk in as his background singer. And I'm just sitting there like, you know, I'm maybe 19 then, and I'm just losing my mind because I'm like, Erykah Badu is there, Jill Scott's there, and Kanye and Common and the Roots and Dave Chappelle and Mos Def, and like everyone I ever listened to as a child and wrote they raps down, tried to, you know, remember them. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy, you know what I mean? Like, after a while, you know, they eventually, you know, are asked, checking people's credentials, who are you, you know, who you with? And I was like, well, I sing background for Martin Luther. They was like, but you can't because he's a background singer, so how are you singing background for him? So, you know, they put me out, and I was sitting outside the building reading this book, The Alchemist, and Big Daddy Kane walks by, and so he and I started talking about The Alchemist, and he tells me I can come back in with him. So I'm like, I'm back in, right? I'm this much closer to being with Lauryn Hill. So I come back in and we sitting there chopping it up, and then, you know, Jill Scott comes, we're all talking about The Alchemist, and I'm sitting there tripping. If you ever read The Alchemist, I'm like, oh my God, this is my Alchemist. Like, I'm in the middle of my Alchemist right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to get to Egypt, which is Lauryn Hill, and and these are all the pathways. So anyway, they do the head count again, and they're like, who are you with again? And I'm like, oh man, they're gonna put me out again. So as I'm walking out, being put out one more time, Dead Prez walks in, right? And Stickman starts singing this song that my mother wrote. And it is about the Trail of Tears. And it goes, Chickasaw, 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 Oklahoma Trek. And so I was like, wait, how do you know that song? That's my mom's song. So he goes on to say that he had come to a show I had done at BB King's like a month prior with Cody Chestnut and Martin Luther, and I sang that song there. And I was like, how random is that? So then he says, as I'm on my way being escorted out, right, kicked out one more time, he says, our singer didn't show up. Do you think you could sing with us? And I'm like, absolutely, I'm back in, right? So he's like, do you know any of our songs? I'm like, yo, I know all of your songs because I stayed out pumping. They schools can't teach us shit outside my high school. Yeah, so I come back in, I know all their music. So now I'm like in, you know what I'm saying? I'm signing paperwork, I'm in. I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, I just wanted to meet Lauryn Hill, and now I'm actually gonna be on the Dave Chappelle block party. So anyway, Dave comes in, you know, we chopping it up, da-da-da. I'm performing, you know, I'm rehearsing the music. And anyway, so finally Lauryn walks in. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the moment, you know? So whatever, I just go up to her, introduce myself, and it was cool, she was really nice. You know, so I leave. The next day, we come back to actually do the show. And I had no idea it was gonna be the monumental event that it ended up being. You know what I mean? Like, it introduced me to so many people, it changed my life. I mean, that's the reason I ended up going on tour with the Roots after that. You know, being in a freestyle battle with like Coogee Rap, like what is happening in my life as a child? And I, you know, started relationships with all of those people, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I love Dave. Dave Chappelle's amazing. Like, we're friends now. I've toured with not only Common and Mos and Kweli and so many of the artists that are there, Common and the Roots, and really develop, you know, strong relationships with them from the Dave Chappelle block party. So life is so interesting because you think it's for one thing, you know what I mean? I was there for just a simple childhood fangirl moment, and it really developed a part of my career that I couldn't even, you know, imagine. And I developed so many really strong friendships and relationships within the industry, you know, from that moment. It's crazy. I love that Dave brought together so many masters of their craft, but also people that were very socially and politically conscious, because Dave is, you know what I'm saying? Dave's a revolutionary. So to have the conversations that were even happening backstage that didn't even make it to the film, you know what I mean? Just like people putting each other on the game, just healing each other, telling stories, you know, they had their children backstage, you know, and that's probably like my first time really seeing mothers with their children on tour, which would later have a huge impact on the way I would move with my own child. You know, Erica had her kids there, you know what I mean? And just interacting with them. And yeah, it was monumental, because he also really validated socially conscious music at a time where that was kind of changing, that was shifting, where it was like, okay, the Wizard of Oz says the color is blue, and you know, we're not talking about socially conscious relevant issues anymore, guys, you know. Yeah, he lifted everybody up and really gave us a platform to be able to be who we were, you know, in such a dope way and a relevant way. And you know, I'll forever, he's a real pioneer, you know, Dave, like his vision, he's a visionary, and bringing all of those artists together. Yeah, and I think like this elementary school Biggie went to was like, we were performing right in front of it, and just having them come out and tell stories about Biggie. I mean, it was so much larger than you could even fit into the edit of the movie. It was like 2 days worth of just experiences that were happening. Yeah, it was incredible. You know, another thing that I think is really interesting, or I guess a lesson I took from it, because I could have just accepted being kicked out and just went home. But I just knew it was a larger purpose. I was like, you know, and a lot of times we get in our ego about stuff and we like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. And I was like, nah, I gotta overcome this. I'm supposed to be here. Like, when you know you're supposed to be in a room, because a lot of times you may feel like these are big stars, you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing here? But to really feel like, I know I'm supposed to be here though. And to stand by that, even when people are telling you that you don't belong here, you're like, I think I do though. I think I do. I carry that lesson with me all the time when I'm in uncomfortable situations where it's like, hold on, change is coming. Like, hold on, just the story is not done yet. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, like, yeah, like you're saying, discomfort is important to your growth. Like, I mean, like anything, like, you know, I was reading about pearls. You know, pearls are developed from discomfort, from an irritation. You know, if was it the oyster, if it's not irritated, if it's not some kind of like sand or other animal bothering it, it won't even develop these pearls. So like, I think like that's the way life is. It takes a certain amount of discomfort for you to grow into the person that's better equipped to deal with those situations, you know?